Guys, how's it going? Today we're going to be doing some planting and some corrective pruning. We're going to pick up with our planting where we left off yesterday. We had 15 hibiscus to plant. We only got 10 done, so we're going to plant the other 5. Plus I've got 2 other varieties of perennial that are absolutely gorgeous. They just came in on that new load the other day that I would like to get planted. But first, I would like to show you how to establish a new leader in a tree where either the leader has died back or maybe it's been damaged or broken somehow. And here is a prime example. We're standing back behind the pond. We've got a triple trunk heritage birch. And you can see that we have lost 2 of the leaders right here. One of them is fine, but we want to get these corrected so that these other 2 will grow similarly to the 3rd one that's looking better. And it's a really easy thing to do, but it kind of feels scary, especially if you're doing it for the first time. I cut a little branch off of another tree to kind of show you an example of how I like to do this. So we're going to pretend that this is a big tree. A big tree, and you know, the sky is up here. This is our leader looking good, but we'll pretend that it died, okay? So let's just remove all these leaves so that it looks dead. Okay, so we've got the trunk of the tree coming up. You can see the leader, the dead leader right there, and then you can see the living branches down below. So what you want to do is choose a branch that looks like it is a strong contender to be a leader. It might not be the top one. It could be, like if this is looking really strong and healthy, you can take your pruners and prune off the leader like so. And then we are going to use some tape to tape the strongest looking branch up to that leader, thus creating our nice tree shape again. Douglas, that doesn't work if you come into the scene. Come on, move it, move it. And we've got some of that green tree tape to take care of it. Douglas, do you want to be taped up too? You want me to tape the branch to you? So basically, just using our tape and taping that new branch up to the old leader. Just a little bit of what was left of that old leader. So that one will essentially become our new leader. But in the case of this, do you see this branch right here? This one looks so much longer and stronger than the 2 up above it. This is what I would do. I would go ahead and remove these upper 2 branches like that, leaving me again another portion of the trunk. And I would favor taping this one up. More like that. I would try to find a branch that's growing more naturally up, because that's just going to be easier to tape up. It's not going to be as much pressure on the branch, as opposed to something that's, you know, naturally growing more horizontally, especially something more established. It's going to be really hard to get that branch to go up this way. It might even take taping it a couple of times to get it to go without breaking it. You also don't have to use tape, especially if your plant or your tree is small enough. You can run a stake into the ground and up the center of the tree and then just tie over the branch that's going to be your new leader to that stake. And you don't want to leave it staked for too long. Usually a corrective prune sort of situation like that, we check the stake every few months, and it usually only takes 1 growing season to sort of form up and create that hardwood and start growing on its own that way. I hope all of that made sense. I was hoping like a smaller example where I'm not standing on top of a ladder would be helpful to see. But that's what I'm going to be doing today. I've got my loppers. I'm dealing with larger branches than what I just showed you, but we're going to lop the tops out of those trees, the dead tops, and we are going to select a branch that's growing in the right direction. I'll try to do my best to show you what I'm doing up there. I think we can kind of see on this one, we're going to come down right to about here. There's the first living branch, which is actually growing up very, straighter than the rest. And we'll take that one and move it over and tie it off onto the trunk there. There's some other smaller branches down lower I need to cut off too that are not alive. But these heritage birch trees, look at the bark. They are so gorgeous. Bright yellow in the fall, and just a perfect look for the pond area. Before we prune, I'll show you what it looks like from the front of the pond, kind of like the pond view of it. And hopefully you can see it. It's a little bit far back, but I think it's going to help a lot to have those tops gone. Okay, so pond view, you can see the dead right in there. So we won't be able to see that here in a few minutes. Hey fish, little fish snacks first. They're kind of rough. That orange one usually flips its tail and flips us with water. Okay, here we go. We really should fashion some sort of a holder to where I could put the camera right here to where you get a point of view look at what we're doing. Okay, so we're up here closer to the situation. We've got the leader right here. We come down, and this is our first living branch, which is a pretty nice looking one. And it's got some flexibility, so I think we can get it over here. But I'm gonna clean up, there's a couple other dead branches I'd like to clean up around that area as well first. I'm gonna take off this dead branch. This one. That one, and then one more. There's also a few dead stems on the branch that we might save. Just want to clean it up and then we'll take a new look at it. See what we think. Okay, now we can see it a little bit better. Leader, the branch we're gonna save. I'm gonna cut the leader off about here so that we've got plenty, well, maybe I'll cut it off a little higher. So we've got plenty to pull this over onto. And I've got my loppers here. I gotta set the camera down though. So let's start in here. We can always take more off. Can't add it once we've cut it though. Come on, there we go. One down. Yeah, I think that this is gonna work out beautifully, just like this. I'm gonna tape it in a couple different spots because there's quite a lot of pressure on this branch. And then down below as well. Okay, so there we go. Now on smaller trees, which normally you would hope that you're doing this sort of corrective pruning on something that's a little bit smaller where you can get after it before the tree is this big, you usually can leave just a little bit of the old trunk to tape it onto. But since this branch is already, I don't know, 1/2 inch in diameter, I think having it taped in 2 spots will be nice, and I'll probably remove this tape soonest, so probably in a couple of months. I'll remove this tape and then we'll remove this one second. I think we can reach this one from here. So you can see the dead leader here. And if we follow it back, the first branch on it that has living stuff, ooh, it's one of these down below. Dang, okay. So I think we're gonna have to cut it about in here to try to decide if one of these these are pretty established. Okay, I don't know, let's get into this, see what we find. My goodness. Oh, y'all. There goes the second one. Okay, this is going to be a little bit more difficult because these lateral branches are really established. I almost feel like taking one of these that's going more naturally upright might be the best option. I don't know. Let me work on this and then I'll show you what I end up with. Well, this fix wasn't quite as ideal, but I think we'll be all right. These 2 branches were alive. Everything up above it was dead. This one didn't have as much flexibility. This one had a little bit more. So I did my best to tape it up without creating too much stress on the branch. So like I said, we can come along once it's hardened this way a little bit more. We'll have more flexibility to pull it over even more and tape it again. And then I followed this one up and I selected the strongest, most upward growing branch, cut the other one off, and then taped that one up more vertically. So hopefully in the end, we end up with something like this. There'll be a little crook right here in the tree. I don't know, we'll see how it goes. It's better than it was though, for sure. And there we have it. I am so tempted to cut that third one down, but I'm not gonna do it because it's possible if whatever was wrong with these trees keeps on happening to these other 2, at least we'll be left with one of them in the end. So anyway, eventually they'll all grow up and hopefully provide so many branches that they all kind of just mix in together and it looks like one large tree. Let's take a look from the front. Yeah, that looks better. Not seeing dead branches up there. Way better. And like I mentioned earlier, it's not as ideal when the trees are a little bit bigger and more established to make corrections like this, but sometimes you just have to. And we hope for the best. So in the meantime, it looks a lot better. And I want to show you the plants we're putting in the ground today. I parked them right here in the shade. This is what I cut off the birch today. Okay, so first off, the hibiscus, which don't look awesome right now. I think they got shocked in transport, but they will be fine. This is the Perfect Storm hibiscus. Grows 3 feet tall by 5 feet wide. And it's got really pretty light pink to dark pink blooms. And then we have the most beautiful Stokes aster called Totally Stoked Riptide. Look at that flower. I mean, the whole plant is interesting to me. I love the big strappy leaves. I love that the blooms come up on stalks like this, which makes me feel like they'd be good for cutting. I love the interest right below the flower. Almost has sort of like an eryngium kind of globe thistle sort of vibe without the prickles. Still soft. They grow about 2 feet tall and 3 feet wide. Can you imagine a 3-foot wide clump of this with a bunch of blooms on it? They start blooming early summer and go through late summer, early fall. And they are zone 5 through 9. So I've got a few of them here to plant, a few of which have some buds on them. So we'll get to see more flowers. And then we've got a phlox, and I have this already in our garden. This is the Luminary Opalescence. So it's not a new variety, but it's an amazing perennial, and it's so high performing and productive in our garden. Does not get powdery mildew. Grows about 30-ish inches tall, maybe a little taller than that, and a couple feet wide. Douglas. But there's something about this color that just gives it sort of a glow quality. And maybe we have some footage of the ones we've got, particularly in the Persephone garden, right behind a boxwood hedge. They just come up just above it and provide the most gorgeous color show. And they usually start early summer and go through, well, late summer. I wonder if they still have color on them now. They might at this point be out of color, and this one just is acting different in its container. Maybe we can swing by there and take a quick look. But that's what we're gonna do for the rest of this afternoon, is get these plants in the ground. All right, Douglas, you better hop off because I'm about ready to leave. There he goes. Sorry, Douglas. You can ride if you want. He seems freaked out. Douglas, kitty, kitty, do you want to ride? No. Oh, parterre's looking pretty still. Ugh. I think they might still have a little color on them. Surefire white begonias are looking beautiful. Oh, just a tiny bit of color, but at least it'll give you an idea as to the height here. So we've got our boxwood hedging. Oh, it's just perfect. It is the perfect plant back here. And then we've got ultraviolet phlox too, which I really like as well. I think they're both gorgeous. And the fact that we are honing in, I mean, we're mid-September right now, and they're still producing color, and they've never been without color this season. And they've even got buds, all over buds. So I think we're gonna have color well into fall. And then we've got some Gatsby oak leaf hydrangeas putting on, oh, dang it, putting on some fall color. Look how pretty that is. Highly recommend the oak leaves. I think when we planted these, we thought they were Gatsby Gal, but I'm pretty sure they're Gatsby Pink based on their bloom structure. So Gatsby Pink is definitely a great, great plant. That color is phenomenal right there. We should press this one. This would also be great for leaf painting, which is one of the fall activities on Benjamin's list because it's got a really interesting shape. He did gather up some leaves last night. My mom and sister came over last night and we did a watercolor evening where we just put on a movie and all of us have a watercolor book and palette, and I got the kids some watercolor palettes. So I had theirs set on cookie trays with some paper, and Benjamin went out and gathered some leaves, so I'll probably give this to him. Okay, we are in the south garden on the pathway that leads up to the cut flower garden. And I'm thinking of planting the phlox and Stokes asters toward this end of this bed. I just wanted to show you the view from here because there's some beautiful things in here. Of course, the serendipity alliums, those were purple and they're spent blooms right now. We've got some pure joy sedum, which is gorgeous. Some of the new Dayglow yellow dahlias from Proven Winners, Queen Tut grasses. This is the hardy geranium we planted earlier this season, and the honeybees are just all over it. Just beyond that, we have one of the blue shag eastern white pines, which we just picked one of these up for the new Dreamstream area. Gives you kind of a look of, I guess, how it looks 1 year after planting. Stardiva blue scavola, along with the Supertunia snowdrift. Amazing. Also, the Proudberry coral berries looking stunning. That's so many pink berries. And this is a new dahlia. I think this is a pinkerific. I might be remembering that wrong. Highly recommend. If you see these next year, I think they're brand new next year. We were able to try them a little early, but boy, they've been amazing. Both here and in that container right there. That's the centerpiece. We did a little thinning in this area earlier on this season. Like I moved a couple of Ansonias out, a bunch of thrift out. I also moved a bunch of the alliums. You know, we had these serendipity alliums all the way up to the edge. And it's just, I don't know, it was just too tall. I kind of wanted something a little bit shorter before we went up into that size. So I'm glad we did that. But I thought a mixture of these two things, because we're dealing with 2 feet tall and then 30 to 36 inches tall. Maybe if we did the riptide right here, because it's a really different texture than the Amsonia, and then the phlox sort of in behind it so it can be the second layer up, that will be gorgeous. I think that's what we're gonna do. And that way we can just continue on here. We did add this 4-trunk birch earlier on this season and I love it there. Oh, I can see it from the house. Like it's one of those trees that sticks out from everything else just enough. And with the bright white bark, it just shines. And I've just enjoyed it so much. So every once in a while you place something that you're like, oh yes, it's perfect. That is this birch. Anyway, let's get the rest of these placed and then we'll get them in the ground. And here's a quick look at how I have them arranged. So we've got enough space on the other side to do something shorter behind the phlox. So when you're on this walkway, you've got kind of that nice stair step look. And then we've got, you know, the taller phlox, then the asters, and then we can come in with something shorter in front of those. I think it's going to be perfect. These two colors are gorgeous. Okay, hopefully I have enough battery left in my drill from yesterday. Oh, 3 bars. Perfect. Let's do it. It is so pretty. Oh my goodness, how fun to establish a new little spot like this that has been empty. And as I was planting, I thought, oh, you know, I've got some more of those invincible ruby hydrangeas. What if I started one here and kind of swooped around the back side of the birch and swooped them this way? Wouldn't that be nice? I do need some sort of small-ish evergreen though, right in here. So we need to save room for that. But these will be a thick, beautiful bunch of flowers for the entire summer because both of them start blooming early and both of them bloom late. I love that. Okay, our last job is to get those 5 hibiscus planted out in the dirt lands, and I might have to ask Aaron for his help again. I cannot believe how hard it was to dig holes out there yesterday. My goodness. All 5 of them ended up over here on this side. I did one grouping of 3 right here, sort of in front of the sweet gum tree. And then as we move this way, you can see the vanilla something. What is it? It's not vanilla twist, right? There's a lavender twist redbud, something vanilla redbud. And then 5 of these show-off forsythias from our pots along the east fence line this spring. And then I've got a single right here and then another single right over there. And where we're standing right here, kind of where you can see this natural curve where the mulch kind of stops, that's going to be somewhat the edge of the bed. And we sort of established that when we planted the forsythias right here because those don't get huge. So we don't want to plant anything bigger in front of that. And then what we will have on this side, like right where we're standing, is a gator width pathway. So you can come off the main lane over here and drive through, and then there's going to be another really deep border on this side. But our goal for this space is just shrubs, trees, evergreens, probably some perennial grasses along the way, things like that. Things that don't need to be deadheaded. And that's the beauty of the hibiscus, is that they take up a lot of space while providing a ton of color. All they need to have once a year is to be cut back, and that we do in spring, early spring. So they're a really easy maintenance perennial. So it's one of very few perennials that will be out here. If we do end up with ornamental grasses, those will also need to be cut back once a season, but we're really leaning toward low maintenance stuff out here. And you guys, that's going to do it for our projects today. I'm really excited about the perennials that just went in. I think they're going to be so gorgeous. And then of course the hibiscus will be quite a show next summer. They do not look like much now. In fact, I'm not even getting up close on them because they look like we should just cut it back now and just wait for them to come back next spring. But I think they'll do really well out here in the sunny space that they're in. And then the birch tree being cut back, having that all pruned up, it just looks so much more tidy. And I'm going to need to spend some time around the pond in the next week or two before the Dream Stream team comes. I want to have all the plants groomed and have everything, ready to go and looking nice when they come. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you in the next one.